Welcome to episode number 26 of my podcast, Beyond the Game. I have some amazing things to talk about, like the GOAT debate. Someone called me a scam that used to be my program. I'm going to go into that. I think that's super interesting. My top 3 NFL picks and a bunch more. If you don't know who I am, hi, my name is Eric Michael. I've sold over $5 million in sports cards. I've been teaching people how to do this for the past few years of my life. It's been life-changing. I've been so fortunate. I've been able to help so many people make an extra few $1,000s a month on the side. And that's why I do this stuff to introduce people to the idea of making money with sports cards. And I do these podcasts, kind of shoot the crap, talk about what's on my mind, go into things that I think are interesting, and something here that I think is very interesting. So, if you buy my program, you get access to a private Facebook group. And there was someone, I'm not going to say his name, but there was somebody that made a post and said essentially that I'm a scam, I'm a manipulator, he made no money, and because of that, this doesn't work. And I just want to be perfectly clear because I think the whole scam thing will always be interesting to the day I die. There have been people that have paid me money and have made nothing. Okay? So there have been people where money exited their bank and they've joined my program and they've made nothing. Just like there's been people that have went to college and failed out. Right? They'll give a college 30 grand for the year, 20 grand for the year, and they failed out. Same thing. I'm not going to sit here and tell you 100% of the people that join my program succeed because they don't. If you are somebody and I tell people this all the time. So if you ever go on Google or YouTube and you look at reviews of us, you'll see there's a million good reviews and not many bad ones. Maybe there's hundreds of good ones, maybe a few bad ones. And people actually accuse me of paying actors because we have so many good reviews to so little bad ones. And I tell people this all the time. Business is very simple, right? People pay you a little bit of money, you make them more money. And we're very cognizant of that. And we're very cognizant of the fact that people talk and stuff. So because of that, we only let the right people into our program. And if you're someone that's watching this and you're not sure if you're someone that puts in a lot of effort and you've tried a bunch of things that haven't worked, I probably wouldn't click the link around this YouTube video or talk to one of our sales reps or join the program because I don't want you to pay me money if I can't make you more. Because my business doesn't look good and my business doesn't succeed in the long run. And it's not good for you either, right? You're paying money to me and you're not making any back. So if you're somebody that doesn't put in effort appropriately, I wouldn't join any program. I would just stay with the grind 9 to 5. There's nothing wrong with it because making money by yourself does take a different level of mindset and does take extra effort that some people may not be used to. So I just thought that was interesting that the whole, like, he said I was like a master manipulator. And yeah, do I manipulate people? I sure do, or I try to, but I do these podcasts to try to manipulate people into doing things that are good for themselves. Like if I manipulate you into making an extra $3,000-$4,000 a month from sports cards, is that a good thing? I hope so, right? Just the word manipulation has a negative connotation with it, and because of it, people think about when you say the word manipulate, people think that you're talking about like car salesmen and sleazy guys who just want to take your money, but any business that's good and functions properly and the business owner knows what he's doing, they'll want to manipulate you or convince you or persuade you, whatever word you want to use, into doing something that's good for yourself, right? If you pay me $500, for example, but I teach you how to make $1,000 a month, that's a great investment, right? And if I manipulated you into doing that, that's good, right? You won't care that you were manipulated, right? Now, if you paid me $500 and you didn't put in any effort and it never worked and you made no money, you'd be pissed off, right? So like all this is like all what I do, I'm a school. Here's the information. If you execute on it, you'll make money probably. If you don't, you're definitely not going to make any money. That's all this is. And I'll always think that's interesting. Some other stuff. So I was talking with a friend and this was an interesting debate. So the GOAT debate, right? LeBron versus Jordan. If you think about LeBron versus Jordan, what's happening in football right now, it's actually very similar. Okay? Mahomes versus Brady. Let's say Mahomes ends up with 5 Super Bowls. Brady has 7. Who's the GOAT? Interesting, right? Just like in basketball, you get people that say LeBron, you get people that say Jordan. It actually depends on how you define the word. So the way I define the word is greatest of all time, right? Greatest player of all time. People say Jordan has more championships, and that's what makes him better. And he was more clutch. I think what people don't understand is winning a championship is a team game. Like if Mahomes didn't have Andy Reid and a great defense, he probably wouldn't win these championships, right? It takes more. Like Tom Brady winning all those championships, it took being in a bad division, the greatest coach of all time, always having a good defense, always having a good running game and offensive line, right? That stuff helps. People like Andrew Luck, who knows? Maybe he could have been Tom Brady if he was in the same situation, but he just never had the opportunity. So I don't think it's fair to just say like Jordan is better than LeBron because he had more championships. If you're just looking strictly who is the greatest basketball player of all time, well, in my opinion, this is just, I know I'm going to get a lot of shit for this, especially because some of you guys listening to this are a little bit older. But LeBron is bigger, better all-around player, better on defense, better passer, maybe slightly less of a scorer. But overall, in my opinion, LeBron is a better basketball player. And because of that, he's the GOAT. He's the greatest basketball player of all time, in my opinion. Mahomes and Brady. Now, I hope we could all agree on this. Mahomes, strictly as a player, is better than Brady. Strictly as a player. He's a better arm. He moves better. He's more dynamic. Kind of like how LeBron, it's pretty clear, is a better player than Jordan, but he's probably not going to get the championships. So Brady and Mahomes are going to be similar to LeBron and Jordan. You're going to get people that are my age that grew up watching Brady saying he's the GOAT, and then you're going to get younger people saying that Mahomes is the GOAT. It's going to be interesting to see what fares out because he's probably not going to get 7 championships. He could, but probably not. So, like, who's the GOAT? Well, it just depends on how you define the word. If you define the word GOAT as the best or the biggest winner of all time, well, then that'd be Bill Russell, right? So I just think it's strictly, no matter what team you're on, who's the greatest player, because winning championships is truly a team effort. Something interesting. And if you guys look at the scene behind me, I'm actually at the greatest place on planet Earth right now, Citi Field, 2 hours away from a playoff game. And so this brings me to the question of money. I got at some sports card stuff to talk about as well. But so when it comes to making money, right, like so many people obsess over the idea of making money. And like everyone, at least I talk to, has the same exact idea of what they want to do with their money, right? You want time freedom, you want financial freedom, all that good stuff, right? And I think money in this world only has 2 purposes, right? There's only 2 purposes for money, and that's it. Number 1, money is just a tool to make more money. Like people obsess over just saving every last penny in their bank account, and that's a miserable way to live life, right? Like there's a floor in how much money you could save, and also it's shitty, right? Cutting coupons, watching everything you spend. However, making money is infinite, right? There's no ceiling to making money. So money should just be looked at as a tool to make more money, investing in yourself, investing in places that are going to produce you income. That's what money should be used for, so you have an ample amount of it eventually, so you never have to stress about it. And the other thing money should be used for, once you have an ample amount of it after using it as a tool to make more money, is using it for the people around you and helping them. You know, like for example, I bought my dad the ticket to this game. It was pretty expensive. Or, you know, taking your family on vacation. And those are the things that you should use your extra money for, right? Because so many people, especially in the world I'm in, there's a lot of people that make a lot of money and they spend it on these materialistic things, which is great. Like I have a nice car. It's fantastic. But if you don't use your money on experiences, you just get obsessed with these materialistic things and it's never enough, right? Right? You buy a BMW, then you want a Maserati, then you want a Bentley, then you want a Rolls Royce, right? It's just never enough. It's like an addiction. I truly think money should just be used to make the people's lives around you better. My opinion. More fulfilling, just more of a fun way to live life. Because I see all these people who just make a lot of money and they just like spend it on themselves viciously, which is great. I don't understand how people do that because, I mean, yeah, I don't get it. I just don't get it. But on to that, what's funny about that is I was actually talking with my mom and a friend about this. So it's funny because what I just said, I'm going to contradict myself slightly. You ever hear the phrase, money doesn't buy happiness? It's actually bullshit. Because when the relationships in your right, money does buy happiness. Like once you have like, you know, you're close to your family, you have good friends, making $80,000 a year versus $200,000 a year, I can tell you for a fact, you will be happier making $200,000 a year as long as your stress levels aren't through the roof, right? Because like if you make more money, you can take your family on vacation to Hawaii. Is that going to make you happier? Oh, I know it will, right? Or at least I hope so, right? In most cases. So people that say money doesn't buy happiness, it's bullshit. It does. As long as the relationships in your life are right. If your relationships suck and everyone hates you and you're an asshole, no matter how much money you make, you're going to hate your life. So that's what I could tell you. And take it from firsthand experience. Money does elevate your happiness. And on to some sports card stuff. So this is what I think is interesting. So I was looking at CJ Stroud cards earlier today, and a CJ Stroud Silver Prism PSA 10. So while I'm speaking right now, it's October, right? CJ Stroud had a pretty good season. Nothing like insane. He's not like MVP level, but it's been pretty good. And you would think, okay, he's had a pretty good season. His value would maintain. It has not. So his Silver Prism PSA 10 has went from around 850 to 900 down to around 600. And he's played pretty well. And you would think to yourself, oh shit, why is that happening? Well, this is why. Because what happens is leading up to the season, most of these football guys are hyped. People are excited. People want to see them play, and their value goes up. So CJ Stroud, this Silver Prism PSA 10, which is a good indicator of his market because it's a very common liquid card that's sold, that $900 value it was selling for was inflated. Like the actual value based on his performance should be like 650, 700, but it gets bumped up about 20, 25%. And what happens is when CJ Stroud actually starts playing, and he's playing about what he should be playing at, right? Pretty solid, nothing incredible. Well, his value drops down to what it should have been worth in the first place because it was inflated. Hopefully that makes sense. And if CJ Stroud was playing well, like really well, like let's say the Texans were undefeated, his value would stay the same. If you ever see like some of these football players who are playing well, their values don't go up. Why? Because they're inflated. And the point I'm trying to make here, and you'll see me hammering this home all the time, is when a season starts, most guys go down in value. It's just how the ball rolls, I promise you. And because of it, it just makes it so difficult to invest in young players long term because most of them don't end up going up in value. It's just how it goes. Like 90% of them end up failing. Nothing you can do about it. It's just how it goes. So like investing in these guys, especially baseball. Baseball's the worst of it because baseball, these prospects always flop. Like it seems like every single time. But you can't invest long term. Like look at the scouts who have billions of dollars a year, right? They get it wrong all the time. How are you going to get it right? You're probably not, right? So just something interesting, I think, in sports cards. And you'll see the same thing happen with basketball. Like you'll see like Victor Wembanyama, his value, like a Silver Prism PSA 10 is like $950,000. And if he is averaging 23 a game, the Spurs are okay, like they should be. Not great, not bad. Same thing. You'll see his value shoot down like 20, 30%. I think it's actually funny that Wembanyama and Stroud, their same card is selling for the same amount at the same time. Like Wembanyama right before the basketball season and CJ Stroud a month or two ago before the football season because they're both like elite level prospects. So I think it's interesting, and especially I really think Wembanyama's value is going to go down a lot because not that he's not a bad player, he's a great player, but just the Spurs probably aren't going to be good. And when excitement dies and then people realize the Spurs aren't good, well, his hype's going to die. And if there was a way to short a stock in a basketball card, you let me know because I've always thought about that for the longest time about shorting guys. I'd be so rich if that was possible. But on to other things. So let's do the weekly top 3 NFL picks because I think this is probably my favorite thing to do. Is if you guys don't know by now, I'm a degenerate gambler. And this NFL season, I've been pretty damn fortunate. So this past week, I have my notes here. I keep track of every single bet like a madman. So I hit 13 bets in a row going back the past 2 weeks. Some baseball, mostly football. So I got really hot. Then this week, I won the Falcons, lost the Jets, lost the Bills, won the Cardinals, and then I ended up losing the Sunday night game to the Steelers. I don't know how they fucking lost that game to a depleted Cowboy team. That was embarrassing. But it's the top 3. So once again, I know you guys are gonna hate on this a little bit, but I think these are money this week. So number 1 is the Ravens -6.5 to the Commanders. I think the Commanders are gonna come back down to earth. I think the Ravens are gonna run right through their defense and just score a crap ton of points. Number 2 is the Lions -3 at the Cowboys. Same thing. Cowboys off a big win. I think the Lions are going to go right through that defense. And number 3, I hate to do this, but I just have a gut feeling the Jets are going to win. The Jets +2.5, home to the Bills. I think that's a pretty good pick as well. And also on top of that, I'll throw a baseball one in there. Seth Lugo's pitching tomorrow Royals against the Yankees, or tomorrow while I'm speaking, it might be the same day. I think that's an amazing pick. It's even money. Seth Lugo is just an absolute stud of a pitcher. It was great value when the Royals played the Orioles in Game 2. His pitching, it was like plus 140 or something insane, and the Orioles were just super, super cold. So I let that one rip as well. So that was part of my win streak. But on to some questions. So got a few Q&As here. So got a question from Bob, and he says, "Go Phillies." Well, I don't want to say that out loud here, but I already did. Are there any types of data that you can think of that is currently not being collected by any of the vendors, like market movers, that would be helpful to have them when finding and flipping cards? What information would be helpful to know that is not to be published or collected right now? Did I already say go Phillies? Yes, you did, Bob. What data would be good, useful information to have? Market movers already tracks the trends of everything. Not much. I mean, all the data you could ever need in market movers is in there. Just having the right information, like how to evaluate the condition of a card, when to buy certain cards. That is the best time, or the best information to possibly have. But all the data, especially with market movers, it's already all in there. So you'll be fine with that. And then Casey says, is there a case to be made that using SGC grading services creates a more consistent cash flow with their quicker turnaround time in comparison to PSA? Or is PSA the best investment overall with a better return, but a delay on that return? That's like the classic question. So here, Casey, let me answer your question in a little bit of a different way. So let's say you buy a card for $100, and it's a card of a baseball player, and you get to 10. It's December now, and it's worth $300. And you know for a fact you can hold this card 2 more months, and it can go up to $400. So it'll go up about 33%. Is it worth it to hold? Well, if it's affecting your buying power, then it's not worth it to hold. You should sell it, because you can do more with that money today than you could in the future, right? As opposed to just sitting on it and hoping to make an extra 20, 30%. The same thing goes for the question you just asked. So if your budget is smaller and you need to turn over that cash quicker, and you can only afford to wait a week, like if you wait after a few $100s, your cash will be tied up and you can't buy, send it to SGC first to get quicker returns and get the bankroll going, so you can afford to spend for an extra month without having it affect your purchase power. Because let's say PSA takes a month and SGC takes a week. Obviously, it's not like that. It depends on the service you use and stuff. But you want to make enough money from SGC so you could afford to put money out there for a month and spend for a month straight without getting any returns. So if your buying power is affected and your budget's like $500, $1,000, I would go SGC first, get your bankroll up to $4,000 or $5,000, and then go PSA. Because the last thing you want to do is hold all your money up. Because if you could buy a card that's $100 and send it to SGC and it gets a 10 and it's 200, and PSA 10 is 300, but SGC 10 is taking a week, or SGC is taking a week to get back to you, and PSA is a month to get back to you, well, you could flip that SGC card 2 or 3 times over and make way more money than you ever would sending that card to PSA, which is why you need to get your buying power up. So it's all dependent on your budget. Like, just a rough answer: if your budget's a few $100, $500, $1,000, I'd go to SGC first. If you have a few grand to work with, then I would go PSA. That's like the simple answer. But hopefully that makes sense. I made this podcast a little bit quicker because I'm going to go to this game soon. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Any questions, let me know. You could always feel free to leave comments. I try to answer these comments in these podcasts. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Bingo.